Here I am with Steve Speer, and you're a leader of the Medical Freedom Party. What is the Medical Freedom Party doing this election season?
Well, we have a bunch of candidates running because some of those races are still in dispute. Elizabeth Galluccio is in dispute. She's a Republican up in Manhattan, but she's running as Medical Freedom. We got challenged enough. I think we'll come out with between 15 and 20 Medical Freedom Party candidates on the ballot this year, which we're very happy about. The first time we ran 8 candidates, and this time we're running 15 to 20. And we also got a bunch of people on the Republican line, which is we're very happy about. We worked with some of the Republican establishment. We also ran some of our own candidates. And, we're very happy about trying to work with people. There's a lot of friction now. A lot of people are saying that because we're successful, we're getting a little bit of attacks. And, and that's fine. It's really nothing too major, I don't think. And, so we're doing well. We're very happy with what we're doing. And as you can see from the meeting tonight, a lot of people were discussing medical freedom who last year weren't doing it. And, I like to think personally we're a one-issue party, and that's to preserve our medical freedoms. And the mandates and lockdowns were just horrific for the economy, for people's mental health, and really a huge event that a lot of politicians just wanted to make go away because to some level the politicians were responsible for it. But now we have people on and they're seeing that we're a reasonable group. We try as best we can to be reasonable and civil and get our message out there. And our message is we never want a lockdown to happen again. We think the mandates were a mistake. I think the data on the vaccines and what the vaccines did are a problem. We were very happy that Bob Holden, the sitting city council person, took our line. And Bob has his, he realized that these vaccines were not possibly as good as they said they were, or as effective as they said they were. So we have a lot of people who support us, and we have a lot of people who are coming our way. We're very happy for anybody to come our way. We're going to start having open Zoom meetings now that the primaries are over and the petitioning is over. That now that we have that kind of settled down, we'll be doing open Zoom meetings and we'll be releasing that. We have a Medical Freedom Party Telegram group. That seems to be our main source of communication. Also the medicalfreedomparty.com. Now that we know that all the candidates who are getting on the ballot as Medical Freedom Party candidates, we will be having them on the website and we'll start communicating a little bit more through the website. So that's...
Do you think that, okay, so I don't want to say that mandates are no longer an issue in New York City because there are some
people say that,
but we no longer have the kind of pervasive mandates that we had in the past. And some people may say, well, it's the time for a single issue party like that is past. Why do you think
some people,
that's still relevant?
Some people can say that, and that's fine. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. What we came together to do was to fight the mandates. And I understand that there are still mandates around the world, and we believe that there will be other mandates coming in. And the Medical Freedom Party, it can involve medical choice and also things like 5G. Some people are interested in because and I'm asking the question, not stating it. Is 5G an intrusive technology, electromagnetic technology that's affecting people's health? That's something that needs to be discussed and understood. And and there's a lot of things like that. Now, 15-minute city, if you can't travel anymore. The psychology of what happened in the mandate under the lockdown is very important. One of our people went to a meeting last night and met a woman who said she runs a depression. She's a therapist, and she said that so many people are depressed. I mean, maybe you don't want to think about it, but they locked us in their room for 3 years. We weren't allowed to go to funerals. We weren't allowed to visit people in hospitals. Their weddings were shut down. If people don't believe that's not traumatizing, and probably one of the most traumatizing worldwide events in history, then you're not paying attention, and that's fine. But we're paying attention, and we believe that the Medical Freedom Party wants to address these issues. And as you saw tonight, a lot of people have come our way. 2 years ago, we were vilified for these kind of statements and these kind of feelings and these kind of theories. And now we're not. People are coming around. People are seeing what happened. And all we ask is that we maintain our bodily choice of our bodies and control what is done to it. And the governments and corporations and insurance companies don't dictate that. That we dictate it for ourselves as free individuals. So,
do you have, for people though who are wondering what your positions are on other issues, if they vote for somebody for city council, for any office, they want to know a range of positions. Are your candidates putting out a full set of positions?
They are free to speak about what they like. I think if they have, Elizabeth lives up on the Upper East Side, and they're putting in a huge kind of shelter there with like 500 families, and that's an issue for her neighborhood. If people have issues for that neighborhood, I say go discuss it. They're free to do what they like, but as an overarching independent party, we're about medical freedom. A lot of people say it's pretty much in the title. And when this is over, if we feel our rights are secure, the Medical Freedom Party goes away. I'm good with that. I'm not here personally for any personal gain or long-term plans. People say, oh, what are the long-term plans? There are none. Right now, this is the issue at hand, in our opinion, in my group's opinion. The issue at hand is medical freedom. And what happened only last year, 2 years ago, when did the mandates end? They locked down the world. Something went on there. We need to figure that out. Ongoing as a party, maybe we need to discuss how that happened, right? And not only securing our rights, but making sure it never happens again. Okay.
What would you said that the purpose of the party might reach conclusion if your medical freedom rights are secured? What would that look like? What would that mean?
Well, that's a very open-ended question. I really have no answer to that. No, and I think that's fair to say because we're dealing in a I think people sometimes forget that we're dealing in a very complicated ecosystem of politics and business and ideologies, and there's a lot going on there. So I try very hard not to make declarative statements about things because I think that would lead people to believe that I actually think I know what's going on. And there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of curtains that we haven't seen behind yet, and we probably never will. And there's a lot of people who don't care to see behind those curtains. Everybody makes their own choice as to how far they go in investigating. Our group are very aware and educated. Like people are sitting here today saying, oh, if I knew 2 years ago. We knew 2 years ago. We've been active for 2 years. We've been active since the mandates and since the lockdown started happening. So, we could claim that if we like, that we could actually say, oh, we told you so. Well, that's not what we're about. We try to educate. We try to get more people involved. We try to get our message out. We want to have our message out to people so people realize one of the things we wanted to do was have as many people in New York City be able to vote for a Medical Freedom Party candidate so they could actually declare at the polling site, at the voter booth, that they support this issue. And I think that's important, that people have a chance to say, I think what happened was wrong. And that's good enough for us. We're not here as big players. We're here as a grassroots independent movement, just trying to do what might be called our civic duty to ourselves and the future, to secure our medical rights and our rights over our own body. I think that's fair. And with that comes our own minds, and with that comes our souls too. Really, it's if they can take our bodies, and I've said it before, if you don't control your own body, you're a slave, right? And so yeah, that's.
Okay, so you had a bunch of candidates here tonight, Medical Freedom Party candidates. You also had a very vocal detractor. And
he's a Medical Freedom Party candidate too.
He was the person who was speaking.
Yes, he's a Medical Freedom Party candidate.
Okay.
But I really prefer not to speak about that because I consider that a tempest in a teapot. Those things happen, and I will not speak about it. So thank you.
Okay, but can I ask you this issue of the Medical Freedom Party undermining Republican candidates is something that's been brought up, I think, over the past couple of years by various people.
Yeah, but we got that we got that last year, and this year we went to some Republican establishments. We went to Ted Gore in Brooklyn, who put 3 of our people on. We went to the Bronx, and they put Rob Camaro on. We went to Manhattan, and they put 3 of our people on. And we went, and in Queens, they put, I got a phone call saying, who do you have? We had Zilli Chow, and they put him on. And, so this anti-establishment feeling towards the party is understandable. I'm an anti-establishment person, but also it's an ecosystem that you have to work within. You know what I mean? And change will come, I'm sure it will. I'm old enough to know that change will come. And is that something I'm so interested in? No. It's a lot of infighting for power. And I personally, and I think in our group, it's not about power for us, it's about getting our message out about medical freedom. And and that's what we're doing, and we're being successful at it, because a lot of people are speaking about it now. A lot of people in the political ecosystem are speaking about it now when they wouldn't 2 years ago. And we're very happy and very pleased with that. So thank you, anybody who's speaking about the medical freedom issues in New York City and in the country. So thank you.
Okay. Is there anything, though, that you want to say to the criticism that you're splitting the Republican vote?
Well, that's how we're splitting the Republican. Most of our candidates are Republican candidates. I don't know how we're splitting anything.
Can you explain that to people who are in terms of how the voting system works?
We ran 3 or 4 candidates in other districts, but there was no Republican running in that district. It was an open district, and we went out and petitioned in those districts and got people on in those districts. There was no Republican challenger. So we said, we'll run people in those districts. People have, I've only been involved in politics for 2 years now. So I see that there's all these factions and stuff. I try really hard to just keep away from it. If somebody's being very aggressive about, we do our business. We go out on the street. We've done very well petition. We have a great group. We go out there. I advise people not to get too volatile about it, because we want to convince people. We want to grow our group and spread our message, and we think spreading the message is done better by talking to people. Most people are not involved in politics, so when they see this kind of infighting in that world, it's very small. It's a very small section of the population. It's very esoteric in a lot of ways. We want to get out on the street and just convince people, maybe one by one. And one of the ways we decided to do is politically, if we could get candidates actually, and maybe I'm changing the story, but we want candidates to get out there and speak about it too. You know what I mean? Because that's a way to do it. Politicians make the laws. We prefer that the politicians change those, make sure that those laws support people's medical freedoms. That's our mission. And we're an activist grassroots group going out there, but we're trying to be civil and as respectful as possible, and make friends, not enemies. It's very easy to make enemies. We make friends, and we're doing very well. I mean, we get a lot of people saying you're doing the right thing because you're being not volatile. You know what I mean? It's easy to be volatile, and it's hard to maintain the dignity and integrity as you work through this rather complicated, confusing, and frustrating situation that we're in, and that the pandemic was a cause of. Like I said, I got involved only because of the pandemic, and some rights being taken away. And I said, well, maybe it's time that I do something. And I think a lot more people are trying to figure that out. What to do is often the question. And we decided that after going to a lot of rallies and things, let's run candidates. Let's put it in the political world. Let's put our message in the political world and see what the response is. And our response has been very good. Like I said, a lot of people who didn't speak about it in the last 2 years, who looked at us rather askance, if I use the word, are now actually saying, okay, those guys, yeah, they had something. And that's good enough for us. We'll take any little thing we can get protecting our medical freedoms. Any little thing we can get, we'll take, because the situation is that dark.
All right. Any last words you'd like to say to New Yorkers about the party?
Just thank you all, anybody who's supporting any of our great people. We have the best people in the city, I think. I'm very proud of them all. I'm proud of all the people who are standing up and saying in a dignified fashion, saying that we want to maintain our rights. And New York City I grew up here, it's a very rough city to do that in, because there's so many competing ecosystems and ideologies. And how do we navigate that? I think we've done pretty well. I think the proof is that we have a bunch of Republican candidates on now, and we have a few independent candidates on. I think the proof is there. I mean, we are the largest independent party with the largest number of candidates in New York at the moment in this election cycle, and I'm proud of my friends who have helped, and all these great people you saw tonight who stood up and said, "I'll run for office so that we can get our voice heard." And then we're interacting with some politicians who are saying, "You know what? We want to help you with that because we think it's important." So so we'll continue on. Again, somebody said to me, "Oh, are you trying to be what's your goals?" We have no goals except maintaining our medical freedoms and getting the word out there that people have a choice what happens with their bodies, and that they should always have a choice. They decide. You decide for yourself. I decide for myself. Otherwise, we are slaves. And I'm against slavery. Thank you very much. So I appreciate it and thanks. Anything else?
I could go on asking you questions. Yes, there recently was an extension of the state. Well, not an extension. A new state of emergency declared by the mayor to address the recovery from the pandemic. The state of emergency that directly addressed COVID ended, and he declared a new state of emergency to address the various.
Sometimes I say we're in a hall of mirrors with quicksand floors, right? There's one of the things I say to people: there's wormholes everywhere, right? You can have your attention get sucked down a wormhole. Oh, how do you navigate all those wormholes? Everybody has maybe their particular viewpoint and opinion on things, and that's great. I believe everybody should have a personal cosmology, and not have a cosmology dictated by the crowd, let's say.
Okay.
But how do you bring that together? And for me, I've kind of subsumed my personal ideology and my personal sort of cosmology to try to interact with as many other people as we can to have them meet on a common ground, and that common ground might be very small, but that common ground, and the only reason that common ground is both broad of medical freedom, but it's also very personal for everybody, as it should be.
Okay. But this is a very concrete thing that's been done as a result of the pandemic, right? This is the mayor declaring yet another state of emergency to address the effects of policies that were put in place during that state of emergency. Does your party, have you looked at that? Do you have a position on that? Do you have a position on some of the other legislative efforts that are being made?
There is a lot of legislation. I know other groups are doing that. And, I believe, and I think it was in our platform, politicians make the laws, so let's change the politicians, right? Let's not one of the things that happened was when we were working at the beginning, we would all call our assembly people, "Oh, please don't pass this law." And it dawned on us, let's get people elected. And then some politically savvy people said, politicians don't care unless you're maybe encroaching on their job. And we said, you know what, let's run people and see what happens there. It's an experiment. We're very much a grassroots group, and it's an experiment. And I don't make declarations about what, our goals and, oh my God, this is where we want to be. We just want to be out there saying to people that you have your rights, you have medical freedoms that are yours, kind of intrinsically in your body. You are a sovereign individual. People use that word. Some people use the term bodily autonomy. I just like to say that if you're not in control of your body, you're a slave. Because I think that's very understandable to people. You know what I mean? Rather than shoot down these rabbit holes and so many issues and so many look over there, this is happening today. I think that's part of the confusion, is so often people get distracted. Personally, and within our group, I think we're trying to, which is not easy, maintain that really it's just this basic human right. That
So, I mean, there are activists, medical freedom activists, who have pushed back very hard over the past year at the state level on state legislation, on bills that were proposed
And that's great.
to mandate vaccines and to track vaccinations.
Sure.
And they feel that they've been successful in opposing those legal efforts.
and that's
Is that something that you have been a part of, or you decided not to do, or
we're a relatively large group, but we're a small group, and we only have so much energy in our body. I'm not overly ambitious. Any field I've worked in, if people get overly ambitious, I think it leads to failure. You know what I mean? So just the Medical Freedom Party aesthetic is to just kind of trudge along. We're not a big social media group. We don't care. You know what I mean? Like, some people think social media is the thing. We just like to get out there and let people know that we're out there. And I think our effectiveness has been demonstrated even tonight, because people who 2 years ago were sort of not on our side are now on our side, and seeing that, like I said before, I believe we are on the right side of history.
But I think people might look at you're not taking a stand on the current legislative proposals and say, well, what are the legislative proposals that they're going to make once they're in office? What are they going to do with legislation if they're not taking a position on the current legislative proposals?
A lot of my candidates are much more educated on this than I am.
Okay.
And I respect them, because I've known them, a lot of them, for quite a while. And we try to work with people that, as a Medical Freedom Party committee, we try to meet people who we think are thinking along these lines, in hopes that if they do get elected, that they will sort of fight back against these laws, right? Vote against these laws, which is how laws get into place. The politicians vote on them. So, personally, for me, I'm sort of a air traffic controller for the Medical Freedom Party.
Okay.
And that's, and my interest in these specific bills is not as intense as some of my people and some of the candidates. They are very informed on that, I believe, and they can cite these things to me. And I have to say, you know what? There's only so much bandwidth in here to get a bunch of candidates going around and to get people to, out on the street and just helping people do what they want to do. They want to be out there. What is the mechanism to get them out there? How to get them out there? That's sort of personally what I do, and my candidates speak about those issues. So you could talk to them, and I'm sure somebody like Martha Rowan, Elizabeth Galuccio, a bunch of them can sit there and tell you what these bills are.
Right.
More than I can. It's not my purview. Would that be the word? Mm-hmm. It's not my area of expertise. It's not something that I pay that much attention to. I understand that it's out there and I hear about it, but I kind of go, okay. And to me personally, sometimes these laws they bounce back and forth in the courts, that I just kind of go, and we're doing an action that's very street level, talking to people, while again we're street level, but we're also engaging with some politicians, trying to get them to take a stance on our medical freedoms, on people's personal rights over their own bodies.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for talking with me in depth.
I know.
All right.
I hope that anybody who hears this understands what we're about. We're a small grassroots group. We really have no backing. We maintain our independence very strongly. This club is pretty much our base, and the Medical Freedom Alliance, which meets on Sundays at 122 East 83rd Street. We meet on Sundays there sometimes, but the Medical Freedom Party is, a very independent group, and we're trying to navigate these waters with the only intent is to say to people, you have rights over your own body. You know what I mean? You are not a slave if you do not want to have something bodies have borders, countries have borders. Your body has borders. You can protect those borders. You should have a right to those borders. They should not be infringed upon or impinged. You should control the surface of your body and your mind too, by the way. We have to be careful with all this sort of, I'm a media guy, propaganda, things like that, and this need for endless information that points in different directions. But that's getting a little more abstract. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.